invested in a whole career and then got left. Invested in invested your life, your everything, years and years, and into this thing that then they keep and you get kicked out. That happens all the time.
Let me ask a little true. I'd like to know your point of view.
Hey everyone, welcome to Evening TV. I'm Evening Ransom, and I wanted to talk. I can't believe I haven't made a video on this before. I've never made a video on future faking, so I'm doing that today. This is something that it's basically one of the main red flags of narcissistic abuse, and it's really big in romantic relationships for sure. What it is it's that the narcissist will promise you something for the future that's really something you really want, and he knows this because more than likely you've told him. You've been very open with yourself and you've told him what you want. He has your number. Uses things like a proposal, maybe even a vacation, children, all the things that you want in the future. He uses those as carrots to keep you giving him what he wants in the present. This is really important because I know that I used to live in the future. I lived in the future because my present was unhappy. In my present I was deprived. They weren't loving me back the way that I was loving them. And I had a lot of narcissists around me. I had a whole family of narcissists around me. And I had some narcissistic friends as well. So in the present, I was actually quite depressed. So these promises for the future were very tempting for me. I was definitely a co-conspirator because, and all of us we are. It's easy to lie to someone who wants to believe what you're telling them. You got somebody and they want to believe your lie, it's gonna be very, very easy to get them to believe it. And this is also, it's somebody you love, it's this, it's all these things that you're investing in. Then this other thing kind of starts to play into it as well, is that even maybe as you're starting to realize that this is a big price to pay, and maybe they've already defaulted on the promise, like the promise didn't happen. They've started to see that things aren't happening, but then you feel like you've invested. The more time, the more money, the more abuse you've taken, the more you feel you've invested, and you don't want to pull out when you're just about to cash in, And of course, all mainstream advice is going to be totally wrong when it comes to this stuff, because they're going to tell you to stick it out and all this kind of stuff. And mainstream love advice is really, really bad. It's just almost exactly the opposite thing of what any of us need to do. So it's really, you can really mess around with doing the wrong thing for a long time until you run across the right information. And unfortunately for me, that never happened until long after the whole abuse was over and my life was destroyed. Then I started figuring out what happened, but not in time to help myself at all. This is what they'll do, and it's really important. I have several videos on this, on why listening to your feelings and staying in the present is so important, because really all you ever have is the present moment. It's all you ever have. And the narcissists, by the way, they're good at this because that's all they ever have. They never think about the future. So they can easily promise you something for the future because that means nothing to them. And an overt narcissist will use the future faking thing because it feels good right now. He likes the way it feels. The way you respond feels good, and it feels good for him to be, generous or magnanimous or whatever when it costs him nothing. Like to say something, he gets all the supply for doing a real generous thing when really it's just a promise. And also, it does get you hanging in, hanging in longer and longer, putting up with more and more abuse. But the one that is, really thinking of it in terms of really trying to manipulate you into a longer term goal, that one is more of the plotting of what a sociopath or covert narcissist would do. It never does it work to be unhappy in the now. The now is all you ever have. If you are used to, and I was trained to do this too as a child, because growing up, my parents were always like, it was the next thing, they were gonna love me when I got to this next place. And so I was always future faking, trying to earn my place in the family, trying to earn my place, trying to be the daughter they wanted me to be. So that was a pattern that I learned, and it seemed perfectly normal to me. And it was, of course, soothing and comforting to project myself into a happy future when my present wasn't that happy. And so, important things about this are, one thing is, it's really important that you're happy in the now. In a relationship, a person who's not making you happy in the now, that's not really, there's no point to it. There's no promise of what the future is going to be. Reality is what, is what their behavior is showing you it is. It's not the words they say. And they are great at making promises. Really great at making promises. Promises cost them nothing. They're just lies, and they do that they do that like breathing. If you're listening to this and you are unhappy in the now, but you're still with someone who's telling you that things are going to happen later, you really need to look at that and see if you're seeing any action towards that happening. It does happen. Here's the other thing, it does happen. Those things might happen, but it still is going to end up being bad. It's still going to end up being bad. So maybe they will marry you. Maybe you will have kids together, and then he just has you secured for the torture, and he has new people to torture. So eventually it's going to blow up. If this person is a narcissist, this person doesn't care about your needs, this person is completely self-absorbed and fits the criteria for a narcissist, if that's a one-sided relationship, it's going to cause you inevitable harm. Whether it's now or it's later, it will keep costing you more and more and more. So trying to not lose, trying to cash in on what you've already put into it, your investment already, is a fallacy, because you're just going to keep losing. There is no way to come out of this ahead. The best thing you can hope for is to cut out before you're totally destroyed, and what you get to walk away with is wisdom and not being naive anymore, not learning how to be real and stay in the present, and not lie to yourself and let someone lie to you, because we did have to agree to do that. This is the thing we have to remember, is that we got picked for reasons, and all we can control are what those reasons are. We can only control those reasons. So this is the game they play. They play this game with everybody to some degree. They stay on a casual basis until they kind of test it out, and then they find the ones that really manipulate, and you are one of those. So that's the part you have to figure out, is why you were one of those. What did you need so badly that you were willing to sacrifice your present happiness, your present fulfillment, your present value system, or everything you wanted for them? Invested in a whole career and then got left. Invested in invested your life, your everything, years and years, and into this thing that then they keep, and you get kicked out. That happens all the time. Into their family, and all of a sudden you're going to lose all of that. So, to keep investing is not a good thing. You really need to check. Always, the best thing to do is to just always be checking with yourself and asking yourself, how do you feel? And that's regardless of who your relationship with. Ask yourself, how do I feel right now? How am I going to feel when that happens? It's how do I feel right now? And if you're not feeling happy right now, getting treated right now the way you want to be treated, and have a relationship right now that you want to have, most of the time that's not working out. That's just a lie. Another very powerful question you can ask yourself in a moment like this is, what would a person who really loves themselves do right now? If I really love myself, would I even be here? So the future faking, if it's fake, you're going to see that it's fake, because you're going to be, there should be some happiness in the today. And if they're making promises, eventually they should come to fruition, and then it shouldn't just be sort of something they can do to buy time. And one of the most important things to remember is that it may have been fake for them, but it wasn't fake for you. So you don't have to get rid of the dream just because it didn't work out with them. You hold on to your dream, and you go ahead and create it on your own. Hold on to it, create it with someone else. It's amazing how things can come back around and just be different than you thought they were going to be, but ultimately you have your dream. If you have any examples of how you were future faked, put them in the comments. I'd love to hear about them. Okay, you guys, thanks a lot. I will talk with you later. Bye-bye.